Gil, how much time has passed? I gasped the question. The world was too solid, too real after the void. But I couldn't stay wherever she'd taken me. Pushing away from the grass beneath me, I wrenched my eyes open. You have to get me back to Death's Angel. Now. This will only take a now. In my still blurry vision, the pink-coated Gillish blob backed up. Then it stopped, and little pink arms crossed in front of it. No. Gil, I don't have time for this. Nathaniel and I have a situation on our hands. If I don't get back before Tatius realizes I'm gone. No, Kid Nakia Firth, she said, her voice firmer than I had ever heard it. No. Have you forgotten the judge's mark on your back? He's out there, searching for proof you are too dangerous to be allowed to live. You told me yourself that you scratched several men when they attacked you months ago. We know Tyler was tagged and became a dangerous rogue. What if one of the others was tagged as well? What if the judge finds him? The judge will blame you. I'm doing this to keep you alive, so you should be more appreciative and helpful. She turned and marched back, past a stone mausoleum. My fingers moved reflexively to the small of my back, where, under all the layers of vinyl, the judge's mark coiled, the tattoo-like snakes twisting and slithering in the shape of a Celtic knot. Gil was right. I needed to find out if there were any other tag shifters. But if Tatius thinks I've broken our agreement, Nathaniel... I looked away. Gil had disappeared around the corner of a crypt. She said 5 minutes. Hopefully Tatius wouldn't notice if I was gone for just 5 minutes. I hurried after Gil. Or at least I tried to. It had rained recently and the ground was moist, soft. Not a good thing for 4-inch spike heels, especially when I could barely walk in the damn things to start with. The heels sank with every other step, stopping me, making me work to get free again. Then one of the heels snapped. Damn it! I rolled the boots down and stepped out of them. Grabbing the boots and the broken heel, I marched in my fishnets across the damp grass. I finally caught up with Gil in front of the cast-iron gate blocking the doorway to a small mausoleum. A thick chain and padlock ensured the deceased beyond rested in peace. Great. Helpful apparently translated into heavy lifting and lockpicking. Nice to be useful. Hold on to these. I shoved the broken boots at Gil, and she made them vanish. Then I reached for my pockets, only to remember I was wearing a tight black dress, not my familiar gray duster. Gil, I said, flashing my empty hands. No lockpicks. Her dark brows merged into one across her forehead. Can't you snap the chain or something? I gave the chain, and the links as thick as my wrist, a doubtful glance. Oh yeah, I could just flick that apart, no problem. Right. Well, if not the chain, maybe the padlock, she asked. I lifted the darkened log, and a whisper of magic ran up my fingers. What the? I jerked back. You tried to magic this lock already? Gil's gaze dropped to her plastic rain boots as she nodded. Great. I glanced over the lock. Even if I'd had my picks, Gil's botched spell had melted part of the locking mechanism. Unfortunately, the spell hadn't damaged the lock's integrity, and my attempt to jerk the lock open accomplished nothing. I dropped the lock. There's no way in. Take me back to Death's Angel. There has to be a way. Gil tugged at her sleeves. I've already set off the magical tripwires. We have to get in tonight. Can you break down the gate? I blinked at her. No. She just frowned at me, and I sighed, glancing at the mausoleum entrance. It was old, the stone facade weathered and blackened, the iron gate red with rust. Old hinges, too. Real old, pin-type hinges. Maybe I can... I grabbed the gate, and bracing with my knees, lifted upward. Rust whispered like dry husks rubbing together, red flakes showering the stone steps. But the hinges lifted. I twisted, setting the heavy gate down crooked. It was still connected to the one side of the mausoleum by the chain, but the opening on the hinge side of the gate left plenty of room for Gil and me to squeeze inside. Excellent. Gil clapped her hands as she slid past me. She really shouldn't have looked so excited about breaking into a tomb. I probably should have asked her to explain, but I wasn't sure I wanted to know. No, sir, Judge, sir. I have no idea why she brought me here. Inside, a stained glass window depicting an angel dominated the wall opposite the door. In the thin moonlight streaming in, she looked over the pairs of sarcophagi lining the side walls. Gil summoned a small purple light to her palm. It twinkled softly, floating to her shoulder, creating quavering shadows around the tomb. She walked to the closest sarcophagus, the little globe of light following her. This should be it. Open it up. I glanced at the sarcophagus. At the sarcophagus's 100-year-old inscription. Bartholomew Matham. Let's get this over with. The night before, I'd had to shove the stone lid aside. Tonight I was better fed, and when I slid my fingers under the lip and pulled, the stone lifted. I hefted it open a good foot from the base and peeked inside. I expected bones and rags, but inside the sarcophagus, a perfectly preserved corpse rested on decaying linen. A blaze of strawberry blonde curls framed the strongly masculine face of a man who must have died in his early 30s. He looked like he could have been sleeping, but my hunger didn't react to him. His heart wasn't beating. Dead and unappetizing. Well, Gil asked, bouncing from foot to foot behind me. He certainly looks good for a man dead over 100 years. The corpse opened a pair of blue eyes. Why, thank you. I was considered quite handsome once. I backpedaled, dropping the sarcophagus lid. What moon-cursed manner of... The sarcophagus shook. Then the large slab of granite slid aside enough for the corpse to crawl out. Well, that was totally bogus, he said, brushing grave dust from his denim jacket. You wake me up and then drop a big piece of rock on me? Where were you raised? I stared at him. But you're dead. The corpse looked at me, blue eyes twinkling in the moonlight. I don't think you're in much of a position to discriminate based on morality, babe. Okay, he had me there, but he had no heartbeat, no warmth. He was dead. Dead, like way more dead than me. At least vampires had a pulse. I didn't realize I was backing away until I fell against one of the other sarcophagi. Sorry about that, Gil said, stepping up to him with a beaming smile and holding out her hand emphatically. I'm Gil, a scholar trainee from Sabin. That's Kira. The corpse eyed her fingers, but shoved his hand in the pockets of his tight black jeans. A Sabinite, huh? Last time I was awake, it was illegal to so much as talk to a necromancer. His eyes moved past her and landed on me. So, undead babe. Totally accident, but excellent. Been a while since I saw one. He drew a shimmering glyph in the air, and magic like a cold wind tried to settle into my skin. Magic had never felt cold before. I glared at him. Whatever you're doing, stop. I straightened to my full height. I was still a foot shorter than him, but I didn't want him to think I was cowering. Cowardly creatures were prey. I wasn't. You're sensitive for a vampire. He turned back to Gil, reassessing her with a gaze. You have a vampire familiar? Me? No, I didn't mark her. Wait a minute, did he say familiar, like witches familiar? I bore the judge's mark, but this was the first time I'd heard anything about being a familiar. The corpse cocked his head. Did the High Assembly dissolve or something? Gil shook her head. Nope, they're still the ruling power in Sabin, and before you ask, yes, necromancy is still illegal. Then what the hell is going on here? He made a sweeping motion that included both Gil and me. I've got a scholar trainee seeking me out in the company of someone else's vampire familiar? Well, Gil shuffled her feet. We need a favor. So, that character we just woke up is Avon. He's a lot of fun. He'll be back. He won't be back in Third Blood, which will be out either later this year or early next year, but he will be back soon. So, I think I will open it to questions unless someone has a request or anything.